Hey, I'm JP, you're watching the Coffee Channel, and today I'm going to show you a super simple way to make super tasty cold brew. So what is cold brew? Well, it's coffee that's been brewed completely cold, as the name suggests, so there's been no heat in the process. So it's not a cooled down Aeropress or an iced Aeropress. It's not an Americano or an espresso that's been chilled after it's been made. It's coffee that's been made completely cold, so at room temperature or below. Now, as you'll know, a few things influence extraction, one of which is time, but the other of which is important is temperature. And because temperature is so important in speeding up extraction, with cold brew, we have to brew it for a very long period of time. So we're talking about 16 hours. So if this is something that you're going to make and need quickly, that's not going to work for you. You're going to have to spend quite a bit of time making this. But what you do get is a quite different coffee from a cooled down Aeropress, because the lower temperatures extract slightly different flavours from the coffee than they would do if you were making it with hot water. So you get a bit less acidity, you get kind of more of a chocolatey flavour, and you get a very refreshing drink for a hot day like today when it's like 30 degrees here in the coffee shop. So what I'm going to show you today is a super simple way to make tasty cold brew without any specialist equipment. So what do we need? Well, we need water. Go for something the low bicarbonate. We're using water filtered through the Peak water filter from Kelowna. You need some sort of jug for pouring it. You need a vessel that you're going to pour it into. In this case, we're going to use a bottle like this. You need some coffee. I would go for a filter coffee if you're going to make it black, and an espresso roast if you're going to add milk to it. And the last thing you'll need at the very end is one of these, a tea strainer, which is what you're going to use to filter out the sediments from the coffee. Okay, first of all, you're going to need to measure your coffee out. Now, I'd recommend a ratio of 60 grams per litre. In the case of our bottle here that we're using to brew the coffee, it's around 300 mils, so we're going to use just under 20 grams of coffee in there. If you've got a bigger bottle, you'll need to up the dose accordingly. In terms of grind coarseness, you've got to go coarser than you would for a pour over, and especially coarser than an Aeropress. So to give you an idea, on our EK43, we'd usually grind for a pour over around the 6 level, an Aeropress at around 2 to 3. We'll be grinding for this at around 8. So it's fairly coarse, not super coarse, because you can go all the way to 11 on the EK, but a relatively coarse. We'll have a look at that in a minute. Then you're going to need to use some decent filtered water or something with a low bicarbonate. So let's grind the coffee, get it steeping. Okay, so we're putting in 20 grams of coffee here. I use a little bit extra to account for any retention. So you may need a funnel to add the coffee in, because bottles generally have a very small opening where the cap is. So you can make a little funnel like I've done out of a piece of paper, and that will funnel your coffee in. So we'll just give that a little bit of shake and let all the coffee go in. As you can see, it's fairly coarsely ground. Is there anything left? Okay, we're all done. That's the coffee. Now you're going to add the water. So I know that this is a 300ml bottle, so I don't need to worry too much about weighing this. So we'll fill it all the way to the top, and that means there won't be so much chance of it oxidizing, because there won't be space for any oxygen to reach the coffee. Then we'll put the cap on. And that is our cold brew ready to steep. Now, I would recommend around 16 hours to steep this at room temperature. Once you let the coffee steep for about 16 hours, this isn't too sensitive. So if you go over 16 hours, it won't make a huge amount of difference. If you grind a little bit too fine, it won't make that much difference. It's quite a forgiving recipe. But once you've steeped it for about 16 hours, I would recommend turning the bottle back so that it's standing upright. This is so the sediment falls down to the bottom and makes it easy to filter. Now, how are we going to filter it? Well, we're going to use a jug of any kind really, and we're going to use a tea strainer. You need to be careful here because the tea strainer isn't that fine and it's also not that large, so you need to make sure that you're not overwhelming it with the amount of liquid you're putting through it, and then the grounds all go everywhere, overflow and into your coffee, and you end up with a muddy tasting cold brew. So just pour slowly and let it do its job. So you may spill a bit on the way, but as long as you pour fairly slowly, you should get reasonable results, because most of the sediment will stay at the bottom of the bottle, and if you're gentle enough, you should be absolutely fine, and you shouldn't overwhelm the tea strainer. And there we go. I'm going to leave a little bit at the bottom, and we're done. And here we have some pretty nice cold brew. So, smells like a cold filter coffee. Plenty of kind of fruit aromas in there. Kind of a tea-like sort of smell to it as well, somehow. Let's give it a try. Okay, so what you've got is a bit less acidity than when you make this particular coffee as an Aeropress, and this would be the same with all cold brews because of the lack of a temperature. It extracts different flavours at this different temperature. By increasing the time and reducing the temperature, which is effectively what we're doing, we're extracting some different compounds from the coffee. So you get a bit less acidity, but you get quite a nice kind of chocolatey flavour. Kind of nutty, quite refreshing, good summer's drink actually. The only thing you've got to watch is there obviously is the same amount of caffeine in it pretty much as there is in your usual hot coffee made from the same type of coffee. So although it can taste like a refreshing sort of summer drink, you've still got to watch out that you're not drinking too much of it. So let me know if you've got any better ideas for making no equipment cold brew. Let me know if you've got preferred equipment that you use for making it. My preferred equipment, if I do have some, is the little Hario immersion cold brew brewer, which I think works pretty well. But I don't think it produces results that are massively better than this. It's another item of equipment to have in your kitchen and to be, you know, to create a bit of a mess. With this, you can do it with just a bottle and whatever you've got lying around, really. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. See you next time.